Hi, my name is Emily, and welcome to my first knitting podcast. I have been really excited about filming one of these because I love watching knitting podcasts online. I love Fish Knits. I love Loopy Studios. There's a myriad of artists on YouTube that I love watching, and I'm really excited about being able to build a little community here on YouTube. Fingers crossed. I've watched YouTube forever, so I feel like this is such a dream of mine to just kind of dabble in this world. That being said, I know I don't have any viewers, so this is purely for my own joy of the game. But yeah, this is my first knitting podcast, and I am excited to show off the few items I have. Don't have a lot of things finished or in the process or acquisition wise either. But that being said, I think I'm really gravitating this knitting year to being about quality, not quantity. I've never been a big quantity knitter, nonetheless. But I do think I have followed into that common trope of knitters that tend to not really think their projects through and realize, oh, is this something I'm actually going to wear, or is this something that am I just excited to knit it, and then I realize afterwards, oh, this isn't really for me. So I think that is definitely a goal in this next year. We'll see if I do it. I kind of look forward to looking back at these videos as almost a journal, in a way for me to kind of keep track of that a little bit. I feel like there's so much that slips through the cracks because you don't even realize what exactly it is that you end up knitting throughout the year. So yeah, I'm really excited. But yeah, like I said, I live in Minneapolis, and right now I haven't been knitting a whole lot. Our city is currently under occupation, and I think knitting has always been a solace for me throughout my childhood and my young adult life, that I've been feeling a pull to do other stuff. I've been out protesting, and I've been spending my time volunteering. And I've also had I've had some issues with some of the rhetoric around knitting as resistance. And surely, knitting has always had some roots in that in the past, but I don't really find, hat knitting to be that per se. And I also think it's a way to circumvent responsibility or actual action, the way that it actually affects people's lives. There's a video I watched recently that I think would explain it a lot more eloquently than I ever could, so I'll pop that down below. But if you're interested in helping or donating in any way, I'll also link a few places that I've volunteered at and organized with that I would love for you to take a peek at if you so desire, though nobody that's watching this video. But that all being said, let's get into the fun part of this video, which is the products or the little objects that I've been making and fiddling away at. I can never remember how these videos are supposed to be formatted. Okay. So I'm gonna look. Okay, I have a fishnets videos here, and I think finished objects, current whips, and then acquisitions. So that's what I'm gonna do. Like I said, not a whole lot of things, but I'm gonna go into maybe a little bit more detail because of that. Just because I feel like that's what I'm a little bit more interested in when I'm watching videos, is some of the more intricacies of the project rather than just being like, I knit this. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna go grab my finished objects. So I have my finished objects here, and both of these things were finished in January. The items that are here were both intended for Christmas gifts. that being said, I haven't really seen a lot of my family. There's just been a lot going on. And I don't really feel bad about it at all. But the first one is a gift knit for my sister. It's these socks. They are the Tuva. I'll maybe pop up a cuter photo if I can over in the corner. But these are the Tuva Sandok knitted ribbed sock. I knit this in oh gosh, I'll pop it up over here because I can't remember what it's called. I think in the color spruce. And the pattern suggested as one of the suggestions was, I think, coast. So I felt pretty good about doing a blown yarn because I think this is more of a cozy sock, not like a hard wearing sock, one that you might wear, watching a movie or just kind of hanging around the house. So, and I feel, so intentionally for my sister, I feel like she's such a homebody like me that I think she'll appreciate the sock. And I did have an issue. I originally posted this on TikTok about how I was going to run out of yarn for these socks. I think I ended up with like this much left. But I was able to finish it. I just Kitchener stitched both of the toes, if you can see it, with a different yarn. I used a Knit Picks cone that I have in edamame, and I kind of like the contrast that the two yarns have together. That I feel like this is something I might play with in the future, just using fun pops of color in different parts of your project in a way that feels like really intentional. And in this case, it really wasn't, but I feel like it can come across that way, and yeah, just have fun with that. But I do really love these socks. They're so warm. They're a little big, but I think that's perfect for my sister's feet are a little bit bigger than mine, so I think she'll fit into these really nicely. And yeah, I'm really happy with how these turned out. This is my third time knitting this sock, and I didn't have to look at the pattern, especially with the very last sock, hardly at all. And I think I'm falling in love with re-knitting a pattern over and over again, especially if you find one that you love. I think there's something really just great about knitting it again, especially with a sock where I think, it's a smaller project and you're not using a whole lot of yarn. It's a really fun way to just really figure out the construction. And yeah, I really enjoyed knitting this sock for the third time. I think I'm going to take a break with knitting this sock, though, and try to do some other things sock-wise that I'll talk about later. But yeah, is there anything else I can say about this? I don't know. Because I haven't worn it too many times, and it is a gift for my sister. I don't really know, but yeah, I would say pretty happy with this one. And then the next finished object is this cardigan. I finished this a while back, but then as I put it on for the first time before I put on the buttons, I realized I totally screwed up the button band. I ended up putting buttonholes in places that did not belong, and so I had to totally re-knit this half of the button band, and I'm not happy with it. I thought it looked good before, and then when I re-knit it, it kind of the tension got a little screwy, so I might re-knit it again, but let's see if I can get it up here and show you what I mean. I didn't really look up how to re-knit a button band. I just figured I could figure it out, and I did, but I think it could have looked a whole lot neater. There's just I just feel like it looked so much better up here before, and in here it just starts to not look consistent, and the tension's a little strange. I think the button placement's fine. It's just, for some reason, I had put a button up here, a buttonhole up here, and then I think the other one was like here, and then here, and then here, or something like that. And I left the one way up here for two reasons. Mainly, I didn't want to reknit all of that. And my partner, who is learning Arabic, was saying how there's this thought or this like practice in Islam that if you make something, only God can create perfection. So you have to always add a flaw into everything. So that way it's, I realize you probably couldn't even hear me because that was being covered. Yeah, you have to put a flaw into everything because only God can create perfection. And so I really liked that as a practice. I thought that was really beautiful. Yeah, I love this cardigan. It's intended for my mother, and it's the Puro cardigan. I did not say that. It's the Puro cardigan by Rumi Yamamoto. I have to look up the pattern name again. Rumi Yamamoto, I think is her name. And I think the inspiration behind this knit, I'm gonna go off of memory, was kind of French trench coats, which I thought was a really cool concept. I really like the increasing that's happening here. I thought that was really beautiful. I really do love this like neck detailing in the back. I used Noro yarn, and I thought it was really great for this project. It's single ply, so it's very rustic, very hardy, and you can really see stitch definition because of that. So every flaw is on display. I had to go back through and kind of let's see if I can show you. Go into the armpit a little bit and kind of fix up some of the holing that was happening here, but I don't think that looks terrible, and especially because it's going to be under your armpit, it won't be super noticeable. I did knit it in a larger size for my mom because I think it would fit her better, and I think the oversized looks of this were just a little bit more cozy to me. I think I would also wear this in a larger size if I knit it for myself. I think I did have a few issues with, the pattern was perfectly written. It was a lovely pattern. I think the more I was knitting it, I realized it just wasn't something I would ever wear, and so that's why I'm maybe a little critical of it. I just think like some of the cuff, like I shortened the cuffs because I didn't like a long ribbed cuff. I just thought that felt weird to me, especially, I don't know. And I feel like this bat wing is just too big. I don't know. I feel like I'm drowning in bat wing. Has anybody knit this cardigan before? It was very simple, and it was really fun, and it was a great cardigan to knit. Didn't take very long, but I don't think I would knit it again. But I do think my mom will love it, and I think it is cute. It's not bad. I do think that there's something like with the tension happening here that I think maybe just with the buttons that the bottom ribbing isn't quite matching for some reason. So I'm probably just gonna go back through and fix that at a later date. In the meantime, well, I'm saying she's done. But yeah, that is a yarn. I will say I love Noro yarn so much, and it was my first time knitting with Noro yarn, and I totally believe the hype now. I just think it's just so fun. It's really lovely just knitting with something that feels like it was spun right off the sheep. I love getting bits of hay in my hands and just smelling that yarn. When it gets wet, the lanolin, I love it. So I'm really happy with it because of that. It was just really exciting to knit with. And I don't know if I'm the only person, but when I finish a project, I find bits of yarn everywhere. My partner probably is losing his mind. He's rolling. Um, I'm gonna have this all over my apartment for the next months. Good thing I'm moving soon, because otherwise, then there'll be a problem there, whatever. But yeah, those are the two finished items that I have. Not a whole lot, I'm sorry. I don't think it's gonna be a big change for the months to come, to be completely honest. I do feel like I'm just somebody who tends to knit slower. I don't have a whole lot of time. I do work a full-time job, and I just really enjoy that, like, the process of knitting, I guess. I just don't want it to end. Sometimes if a project is close to being done, I do stall and I'll pick up something else because I'm like, this is too much. I don't want this project to be over. But yeah, that's it for finished objects. Let's go on to, I'm gonna grab my current whips. Okay, so now we're on to current whips. I have 3 little projects I'm working on. Well, I guess 2 of them are little, one's a bigger project. The first one is my step-by-step sweater. I feel like my major draw for this sweater was because I've never done it before. I feel like I have knit so many like objects, like scarves, hats, and cardigans in the past based off of just making up things and it not, but I've never done like a basic sweater before. So I really wanted to try my hand at this, especially because I'm about to start knitting the Freya sweater. And I've done cabling before, but definitely not a sweater like that, and definitely not in a sweater construction. So I was like, I feel like I really need to just knit a basic sweater. That being said, I am kind of modifying some things in my own way. I did the folded collar, which I have done when I've done like my pullover slip. And I did it in a twisted rib, which I thought was really fun. Kind of adding some, maybe you can't see it that better over there, which I thought was really fun. Yeah, I like the texture it gives. I'm currently knitting this in Kos by Sandisgarn in the color Cognac. My initial project for this yarn was going to be the Raglan sweater by Tuva Sandok, and I really liked that sweater, but I don't feel like this yarn does a great job of showcasing the like subtle cabled raglan increases that sweater has. So I just felt like I should go with a different yarn for that project. That being said, I still want a sweater out of this, and I have a sweater's quantity to use. So I'm going to continue doing the twisted rib on the sleeve and at the hem. I don't think I'm going to do anything else. I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple otherwise. But yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out. I think it's so cute. Is this the back? I can't remember. Yeah, I just think it's really a great color. Very great for the fall. And yeah, I'm excited for it to be done. I'm not excited for it to be done. I really love knitting it, so I don't care if it ever ends. I just want to knit it forever. I do think I'm kind of caught between, do I just continue knitting the body or should I go on to the arms? I also want to try knitting sleeves 2 at a time, which I've never done before. And I thought this could be a fun project to try that out on. But I also am like, maybe that's too much. Maybe I should just have fun and just knit the project and not overcomplicate it for myself, which I tend to do. But yeah, I don't think, I think if I really wanted to, this project could be done this week. But what's the point of just pushing through when you could just have fun with it? Which is my philosophy in knitting. But yeah, outside of that, I guess I don't really have a lot to say. I like the Coast yarn. It's very squishy. I have a lot of it. I realized I over purchased. And I think I've used 4 balls so far. And I think I'll probably use 4 more balls. I really don't know. So I think if I have enough yarn left over, I'm going to make the Berlin scarf with this. I think that would be fun. I think that would have the desired effect I'm looking from the Berlin scarf and kind of get to play with the pattern. I think if I really like the pattern, I'll just end up knitting it again, which I tend to do. I also feel like I would knit this again. I would do some things differently. I'm not quite sure yet. But it's really, I really love knitting things kind of to the book the first time around, and then the next time going off script. So, and I mean, I didn't really do that this time, did I? But just a little. I might change this collar a little bit next time. I didn't do the German short rows just because I didn't want to overcomplicate the pattern, and I don't feel overwhelmed by German short rows because I've done them in socks before, but I haven't done it in a sweater, so I don't know. I just didn't want to. But yeah, really love this. I feel like this is such a great pattern. It's perfect for a beginner. I think my partner, who's on his own knitting journey, is currently in his scarf phase. He's knit 2 scarves and he's on his 3rd, and then he's about to knit the Sophie hood for his mother, and then we're gonna go on to slips and sweaters. And I feel like this would actually be a really perfect sweater for him to knit for himself because it's just so easy to follow. You all know this. I'm preaching to the choir. But yeah, next project that I currently have was not something I was planning on knitting at all. If you saw my winter knitting plans video, I didn't mention knitting this book bag at all. This is the book bag by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. I had some leftover yarn from my pearl cardigan, and I was initially thinking about using that yarn for this. And then I just realized I didn't really like the way that it would look. I think if I knit it larger and then felted it, it could look cool. But we'll see. But I had done a purchase last year of a bunch of yarn from Drops. They were doing a sale, and I think I just purchased a bunch of stuff just to try out some of the products. Not really sure what I was going to do with some of them. And I purchased, and it's amazing, just like, I was like, I got so much yarn for just, it was such a great deal. I don't even remember, it was so long ago. But I grabbed a few balls of Drops Belle in this kind of cream, very like rope color. And Drops Belle is made up of cotton, viscose, and linen. I thought this was perfect for a bag. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, a cute little summer book bag. I am done with the body of the bag, and I have to knit the strap. I think I'm gonna do the shorter strap and not the tie strap. Yeah, I think this is so fun, and I might have enough to do it again. So this has been the first ball, and I think I'm gonna dip into the second ball for the strap, and I have one other ball. Can you? So I was like, what if I knit 2 bags and I give the other one to my best friend Abby and we could have matching bags? Okay. What to say about this pattern? It's very simple, very easy to read. Yeah, fun. I've never done Judy's Magic cast on. That was exciting. I think the way that construction works is you continue to knit in like magic loop. Once I could switch over, I just started knitting in the round. I just prefer that feeling, so I don't know if I have to change that later or what, but it was just easier to kind of build up the stockinette portion of this if I was just knitting in the round. I will say that this is kind of a splitty yarn because of the cotton, and I've never really knit with cotton before. But yeah, I really enjoyed. I think I might knit with cotton more in the summer for more summer garments. Yeah, not much to say. I was at the yarn shop recently and I saw the kind of equivalent to this in the Sandaskarn line. Looked so similar, and I was curious about the comparison between the two. I don't know if anybody's ever knit with Dropspell versus whatever that Sandaskarn cotton blend yarn is. If they think it's better or worse, it's probably more expensive, but I can go out and buy it and I don't have to get it delivered to my home because I live in a really weird place. Don't live in a normal apartment situation, so getting packages here is impossible. So I would prefer to just go out and shop for it. I'm also trying to save for a move, so I'm really trying not to purchase yarn. So it has to be worth it. Is it worth it? You tell me. But yeah, and then the next thing that I'm knitting. Oh, it's right here. The next thing that I'm knitting, panic, is this. I've only got a cuff. I did so many gauge swatches for this sock. I am not following a pattern for this. I'm just playing around, having a hoot, as they would say here in Minnesota. I'm not a native Minnesotan, so. Okay, sorry about that. My camera likes to stop filming after 12 minutes, so I don't remember what I was just saying. But anyways, yeah, I'm knitting this very vivid red sock, and I'm just playing. I think that's so much fun, and this is how I grew up knitting. I was always just kind of making stuff up. Now that I understand knitting, the construction of garments a little bit more from patterns, which I think has been my favorite thing in the last 2 years with my knitting journey, is just being able to like understand how a garment is made. So I want to incorporate some things that I've learned, and I have a vision for a sock that I want to make, which is kind of a tabby sock, but also inspired by Le Bon Shop socks. I have one Le Bon Shop sock right now, and I really like the structure, the large rib on it. So I'm thinking a little cuff, 3x1 knitting or ribbing along the foot, and then a little toe construction. I'm not quite sure what I want to do for the heel yet. And if I knit this and I really love it, I want to make it as a pattern. Obviously, if I want to do like try to, free pattern, because I don't have anybody to purchase the pattern to begin with. So But also, I think that if you start off as a pattern writer, it's always good to have free patterns. And I think, yeah, I think this is gonna be fun. I want to like wear this with some tabbies. How cute! The bright red. I want a lot of different colors. I don't think the yarn. I'm rambling. I don't think this yarn is ideal, but this is definitely the style of yarn that I'm going for, is like a light fingering for the sock. I'm gonna try this with Sandusgarn Sisu, and then I think I'm gonna do the Cascade Heritage sock yarn too. Those seem like comparable. But this is Sunday by Sandusgarn in red. I think it's just red. But yeah, I'm really excited. I just, who knows if anything will happen with this sock, but yeah, we'll see. Next knitting pod. I want to try to do one of these once a month. We'll see. Okay, well, that's it for all of the objects that I've knit. I'm currently knitting up all my current whips, and now I'm gonna go into my acquisitions. Yay! Okay. So back into my last portion of this video, which is going to be acquisitions. I don't have a lot to show because I haven't been spending money, because I'm in the process of planning a move. I'm not planning on moving until summer. But that being said, I am planning on moving to New York, which is a very expensive move, and I'm really trying to be thoughtful about my purchases for the next few months. And once these whips are finished, I think I'm totally just gonna hone in on this one sweater, which is the Froya sweater. I have the sweater's quantity needed for this project. I have Knitting for Olive in heavy merino in cream, and then I have the soft silk mohair in cream as well. I feel like this is going to be so good. I've never used Knitting for Olive. I have some other yarn that I purchased for another project. I think I'm going to do, I know I'm going to do the Sophie Hood and a purple that I got a few months back that my partner and I are planning on knitting together. But yeah, I think once I'm done with these items, I'm going to get into knitting this sweater. Not much to say. I haven't really done a whole lot of research outside of like know what size I wanted to knit and what yarn I want to do. I'm gonna really get into it, I think, later this month. And then after that, I really don't have any plans. Oh, I guess I will think about the Berlin scarf next. I think that's the next really big thing for me. I don't really, it's really hard for me to think that far ahead as far as knitting plans. I have like ideas, especially from my video, my winter knitting plans video, of things that I'm thinking about knitting, but I don't really think that far ahead. I want to knit more on my knitting machine, but I know I need to replace some knitting needles still, so I'll get to it. But yeah, I think that's it for all of the things I have to talk about. I've heard good things about this yarn, so I'm not too worried. I really want to take my time and do a good job, though. I am worried that I don't want to rush through this project, because I just really want this one to look so nice, and I'm very excited about it. Okay, well, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I'll try to keep updating here on YouTube of all of the little projects I have on my needles. I also want to maybe down the road do other videos, especially around moving. I feel like that's I've been watching a lot of New York moving videos because I'm moving to New York, so I feel like it's makes sense that I've been watching them. But I feel like, oh, maybe I could do some updated videos for 2026, what it's like moving to New York. I'm pretty lucky that my partner grew up there, so I have kind of an ecosystem I can escape into a little bit and have people around to help navigate. And we'll be living with his parents, so for the first few months of that transition, so I'll have that to like kind of buffer anything. But yeah, I will have to try to find a job and all that stuff, but it's exciting nonetheless. I've always wanted to move to New York. I grew up on the East Coast, so it feels just kind of a natural transition for me. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.